Compool CP 3800 temperature sensor calibration. The panel temperature readout is running about 10 degrees higher than the actual pool temp. According to the manual, the temperature sensor can be calibrated. Following the instructions in the manual, after running the pool for 15 minutes, I push the program button and the spa heat source button. Set the temp to actual pool temp. Push spa heat source button again, then program button to end. When I first push the spa heat source button, the temp is shown with an AJ1 after it. As soon as I set the actual temp and push the heat source button, it goes back to the original reading. I don't even get to push program to end as the manual says. In fact, when I push the program button, it goes back into program mode. Am I doing something out of order? Should I put the pool in service mode? I don't want to start guessing. The panel does go into the calibration mode, I am thinking, because of the temp with the AJ1 next to it, but it just does not keep the setting. Sorry for the long post, but I am hoping someone will be able to tell if I'm missing a step that I do not see in the manual. Thank you for any help or suggestions.
Welcome. My name is would be glad to assist. Sometimes instruction do not paint the proper picture in programming, or are misleading. I think what you are seeing, when you press the heat source key after entering the temperature, is actually the next temperature display of the solar temperature or air temperature, whichever you may have. You need to go through all parameters when doing the program calibration, and only when through all sections do you press program end. You will go through all of the 9 steps below. When you get to the next parameter, you do not have to make any changes, just go with the heat source key to move to the next parameter. Once through all parameters, then the program end saves all of those parameters, including the one new water temperature. The calibration just makes you go through all steps to get only one done, as it is not designed for single item calibration, all or none. Do each of the below steps as posted. 1. Press the program key. 2. Press the spa heat source key. 3. Enter correct pool temperature and press spa heat source key. 4. Enter correct solar temperature and press spa heat source key. 5. Enter correct air temperature and press spa heat source key. 6. Enter number of days between backwash and press spa heat source key. 7. Enter number of minutes to backwash and press spa heat source key. 8. Enter floor cleaner valve cycle time and press spa heat source key. 9. Press the program key to end. See if that does it. Watch the display as you move through each segment. Thanks.
As I indicated in my original post, I push the program key, then press the spa heat source key. AJ1 shows up on the screen. Then I enter the correct pool temperature and press the spa source key. AJ2 should then show up on the screen, but it doesn't. There is no opportunity to make the next setting. Instead, it comes out of program mode and shows the original run readings. There is no opportunity to continue the calibration. You have just given me the same procedure as what is in the manual, and IT doesn't work, and that is why I asked for help.
Okay, I understand the dilemma, but looking over the information posted in the question, it did not appear that the next temp was actually the temp at the next segment. I pushed the program button and the spa heat source button, set the temp to actual pool temp, push spa heat source button again, then program button to end. It goes back to the original reading. Sounds like the next segment pops up and misread the parameters, since the next two are temperatures as well. Looking at that, it is understood with that information, that you press the program button to end and nothing about the inability to proceed to the next segment to continue on and get to the end. That is why the posting of the procedure, this happens often as most do not try to go through the rest. Would not have posted the procedure if the information had been there to know. My apologies for misinterpreting the information. Let me opt out of the question and put it back to the open board for all experts to view and respond. No need to reply, the site will notify you when the next expert posts. Hi, I am here to help you with your question. I don't understand why the tech confirmed your issue but did not resolve why you have this problem. Here's what I suggest doing before we go into anything else. You have two temperature sensors, one is for water and one is for air. From everything I read, it sounds like the air sensor is giving you the correct temperature. 1. Turn off all power to panel and equipment. 2. Open the CP 3400 left panel, one screw under black panel knob in the middle. 3. On the top right of the board you will see both air and water temp sensor connections. 4. Switch the water and air temp sensors with each other. 5. Power everything back on. Is the water temperature correct? Is the air temp now wrong? If water temp display is now correct and air temp is now wrong, you will need a new water temp sensor. Let me know what you find out so far. Don't worry about board not calibrating at the moment, I'm trying to deduce if you have a bigger problem with PCB board. We can continue to communicate here until you are satisfied I have answered your question. Then. Hi old cutbanker, I see you last viewed my response last night and I wanted to check in. Please let me know if I can help clarify anything I have said or if I can answer any other questions until you resolve your issue. Thanks, Bill. Hi Bill, I just responded to your original answer without seeing your last query, but I don't see my response so I will attempt to repeat it. My controller is a CP3800 and the temperature sensor connections are on the lower right side of the board showing connection availability for freeze, water and solar connections. Only a water sensor is connected. I do not have solar and I seem to remember that several years ago, as a result of ER3 showing up sporadically and since it rarely freezes in San Diego, the freeze/air sensor was removed by a pool maintenance guy. So what do you know about cutbank? Tom. This may sound crazy weird after all this time, but the board should still need that air sensor too. That sensor is part of a built-in equipment protection, and although you may not need it in your area, your board does not know that and may have a conflict with it not there. Maybe the board was reset or powered off for a while and when it came back on it finally had a conflict. If you don't have a second sensor, then try moving the one you have to air. Is the reading still off? If it is, then you may want to get two sensors for water and air. But read below first. Keep in mind, I'm only using this sensor to try to deduce if your main board is malfunctioning. Based on your original problem, I was pretty sure it's your main PC board that is bad. But your board is obsolete. There is an upgrade board available for your system. The upgrade board retails for $907.73. I can get this board for $523.88 plus shipping. The upgrade board would have a 1-year manufacturer's warranty. All I know about cutbank is that 1. It can be part of a river bank eroded away by the force of water at the curve of the river. And 2, it sounds like a great town in Montana, where the Cherokee Trail ended. I hope your family is still sitting on your gold. Thanks, Bill. Just to clarify, I am understanding that you are telling me to move the water temperature sensor leads to the freeze/air connections on the board. Since there is no reading of air temperature on the panel, would I then need to go into the calibration routine to ascertain the reading? Which may not work because of the absence of a water temperature reading. I will try this in the morning. Sounds like even if the board is bad, I should buy one new sensor if not two. I priced these on Amazon today and they run a little over $30 each. If the board is bad, would the upgrade board you discussed be compatible with a Pentair and a LiftFlow variable speed pump installation, or could I solve the board problem if it exists by installing the Compool to Easy Touch upgrade kit, $393, which I assume would also require replacement of the indoor control panel, $253. Thank you for your assistance. Saturday morning update 9:06 a.m. PST. So I switched the water sensor leads to the freeze/air connection, and when I powered back up, I got a water sensor trouble light at the controller and an error 1 showing on the interior control panel instead of a temperature. When I went to the calibrate mode it showed error 1 AJ 1 and would go no farther. It's interesting that with no leads connected to either the freeze/air or solar sensor connections on the board, there are no sensor trouble lights showing at the controller and no error signals at the interior control panel. There must be some way to program those indications to stay off and also to reactivate them. So, what is my next step? I'm very sorry for my delay over the holiday weekend. I just realized you had responded. You can try getting sensors replaced, but I just wanted you to know that your board is obsolete from the manufacturer. The board I am discussing will control your versus pump. I advise everyone to be very, very careful about purchasing any expensive/electrical parts from internet sites. Many manufacturers have stopped warrantying internet-sold parts since the internet has a high rate of part failure during and after the warranty period, and we've personally had customers have problems with returning internet expensive parts during 1-year warranty. Our best advice is, you need to make sure you're reading online that it's a manufacturer's warranty and not just a warranty. Then print it for your record. We've had a customer verbally call and ask, but in the end manufacturer denied warranty. Yes, you are correct about needing new remote to replace indoor panel if you upgrade. Again, I'm very, very sorry for the delay. I hope I can make it up to you. Thanks, Bill. Bill, you have asked me to rate you even though we have not established that the controller board is good or bad. Given that it is obsolete for new versus pumps, it is still adequate for my current installation. I am in the process of purchasing a new temperature sensor and we'll see if that solves my problem or if the board is indeed bad. It would have helped if you had continued your support for that effort, but is apparently too much to ask. Therefore I will proceed to rate you. Tom.
Bill, I included this in my post over the weekend. Apparently you didn't read it. Saturday morning update 9:06 a.m. PST. So I switched the water sensor leads to the freeze/air connection, and when I powered back up, I got a water sensor trouble light at the controller and an error 1 showing on the interior control panel instead of a temperature. When I went to the calibrate mode it showed error 1 AJ 1 and would go no farther. It's interesting that with no leads connected to either the freeze/air or solar sensor connections on the board, there are no sensor trouble lights showing at the controller and no error signals at the interior control panel. There must be some way to program those indications to stay off and also to reactivate them. So, what is my next step?
I'm sorry, I do not have control over the request to rate me when I respond with me answer. And this is the first I'm hearing back from you. I will be here answering your questions until you are satisfied. I am sending a copy of this to an admin because I just saw your second to last reply was 2 days ago and I just got notification of your last 2 replies together. I'm curious what your message says requesting you to rate me. We do not get to see that from our side. And knowing what you see might help me explain it to customers in the future. I was waiting to hear back from you about my cut bank knowledge also. Back to your issue, I did respond to your update in my last reply. I'm not sure where we are miscommunicating. I'll try to restate it. You can attempt to get new sensors, but there is no other adjustment on your board if it is responding in the way that you described it. I do not think it is your sensor based on your issue. This would mean, you will need to upgrade your board since your current one is obsolete. Please be sure I am here until you no longer need help. Thanks, Bill.
Hi Bill, thank you for your response. Relative to the request to review, every time you have provided a response, I got an email indicating that you have responded and requesting that I rate you. If I didn't reply within a day or so, I got another email which appeared to be from you asking for a rating. Concerning my Compool controller, as I indicated, when there is no sensor attached to the water sensor connection, there is an ER1 showing on the inside panel and a light is lit on the panel on the exterior controller as they should. My thinking is that with no sensor attached to the freeze/air connection there should similarly be an ER3 on the inside panel and a corresponding light showing on the exterior panel. I seem to remember hearing that the person who removed that sensor did something to eliminate those errors/lights from being displayed. I will attempt to contact him to obtain specifics. By taking that action, it might be possible that he caused the current calibration problem. Page 39 of the manual addresses resetting the control panel and the power center if the system is not responding. Could that pertain to the calibration issue? I have a sensor on order and it should arrive mid to late next week. Relative to your comments on cut bank, you're dead on. I was raised there and the city overlooks the Cut Bank River, which was named by the Lewis and Clark Party because of its cut banks. I'm sorry to say that there is no gold in the area, although there is an oil field as well as farming and ranching. The Blackfoot Indian Reservation is on the other side of the river from the city. By the way, in order to qualify as a city in Montana, it must have a population of at least 2,500. I think fondly no daytime speed limits in Montana. Tom,
thanks for your help. I am not aware of, or it's been too many years since I've installed a Compool board, that the air sensor could be programmed out of the system. I know I have never made that type of adjustment on any system myself. Maybe you're right and this portion of the computer language is now having a conflict and needs to be reset. I've only found that the reset button helps sometimes when the panel is locked up or seems dead. But for grins we can reset it. If we do reset it, depending how the original air sensor was reprogrammed like you say, I'm guessing that setting will go back to factory setting and we will need working sensors for both air and water from that point on. If you get the sensors, temporarily attach them to the board, without unwrapping cable completely or attaching it to plumbing, so they can be repacked/returned new if it does not solve your issue. The older sensors you need for your Compool board are different than the ones used for an upgraded board. Be prepared, this has happened 2 times to me with your board, that if you do the reset, the system could crash trying to go back to factory setting. And the board locked up, not allowing any operations, forcing an upgrade. If you power everything down and remove the board from the door panel, you can look closely at every circuit and weld on the board from both sides. Loose, cracked, burnt, or any signs of damage to the board can be the root of your problem and may help you determine if you should just plan on an upgrade in the near future. I have found pin-sized burn holes on some resistors or burn marks on the circuit board itself, especially if you see water marks on board. Gently touch each part to see if it feels cracked or loose. This may not help with the potential pain if you have to purchase an upgrade, but just know that your board has made it to the downside of being over the hill. Most systems have already been upgraded or hanging with issues similar to yours. Thanks, Bill.
If you have a home improvement or appliance question and want to chat with an expert now, visit justanswer.com/ythi.